Okay, I'm sorry. I've been away for a few days, but I've been trying to fix my digital camera, and it wouldn't get fixed. I looked online for everything. I've been trying for the past few days, so that's why I've been missing in action. And I don't normally do videos of this time, but this news just rocked me so much. I just had to do a video about it, and it's one of the things that I regularly cover on this channel. So I figured it's appropriate. But DC just announced that they are canceling Super Sons, not for reasons of sales, but because it doesn't match the vision of a new writer who's been given complete creative control over Superman. And this set off alarm bells in my head because I predicted this. Back in 2017, when they first announced, back in mid 2017, when they first announced Brian Michael Bendis was going to be taking over Superman, I said, and people can look it up if my posts haven't been deleted, but people can look it up on the Facebook page for Midnight's Edge. I said it. My first prediction was the first thing that'll happen is Super Sons will be canceled. Now, Super Sons is the worst selling of the Superman comics. There is no questioning that. Still, it sells between 20 and, on an average month after, it sells between 30 and 40,000 units. Sometimes it goes as high as 50 or 60,000, and then Superman comics sell between 50 and 60,000. Okay, not great numbers, but those are enough to put Superman in the top 20 month after month, and Super Sons will sometimes dip into the top 30. Now, that may seem like enough reason to cancel a book, except that wasn't the reason they gave. The reason that they gave was it doesn't match the vision of Brian Michael Bendis. Now, a lot of you will know who Brian Michael Bendis is, but for those of you who don't, he's a man pretty much most famous for creating Jessica Jones, yeah, I know I said that I will go on a rant about him sometimes, but I will admit that at the time she was created, Jessica Jones was a pretty original character for comics, and she worked. Okay. But here is what he's known for since then. And this is why this puzzles me, because it's got fans upset, and well, I can't see the sense from a business perspective. It only makes sense to anger fans, especially in an industry like comic books, where the industry is on a lifeline, where it's only the hardcore fans who are keeping it alive. So, yeah. Bendis pretty much is at DC because he got sales so low they wouldn't let him mess around anymore at Marvel. Outside of Jessica Jones, here is what he's most famous for doing. Well, he got X-Men the lowest sales in the book's history. He got good sales on Ultimate Spider-Man. However, creatively, he did something that I really hate. He changed Venom to being made in a lab, and he changed Eddie Brock to being Spider-Man's buddy and friend and best friend, who Peter Parker angers, and then this experimental thing created in a lab bonds with and makes him the supervillain Venom. The symbiote no longer comes in space. Now, if that sounds familiar, that's because experimental substance created in a lab messing with that is causing Peter's best friend, who's already mad at him and hates Spider-Man, to get superpowers and take him on. That is already something that was done for years with Harry Osborn. So his biggest contribution to Spider-Man is killing him off in Ultimate, giving us Miles Morales, and turning Venom from its own unique character just into a cheap, watered-down version of Harry Osborn's Green Goblin. Just substitute symbiote suit for the Green Goblin serum, and you've got it. Then most recently, he's known for getting Iron Man sales so low. I've heard people defend this move saying, well, Super Sons was only selling around 30, 40,000 units a month. Yeah, you're canceling a book that's doing that for a guy whose last book was selling, if it was lucky, 15,000 units a month, but more typically 7,000 units a month. Yeah, here's the thing. I spent most of last night doing research on this, and if you look at the sales charts for over the years while he's been in charge of Iron Man and while Super Sons has existed, Super Sons has always been in the top 50. Sometimes I had to go below the top 200 to even find Iron Man while he was writing it. So, to please a guy who did it, you're canceling a book that was wonderful. My favorite book going right now. Here is the, and it's just baffling to me. And here's the thing. Brian Michael Bendis is known for telling, and here's the thing. Here are my predictions. Now, I've heard a tweet that says that they're not done with that they're not done with Super Sons, they're not done with The Boys, but until I see proof, the comic book industry is now known for lying bold-faced to its customers, so I'm going to assume that's just to calm down people on Twitter until I'm told otherwise. However, I'm going to, at the end of this video, talk about the hopeful signs, and I really hope that's true. I really hope it's not BS. I really hope they do something. But here are my predictions. Since my one prediction came true, I'm going to tell you the rest of my predictions. Brian Michael Bendis is known for doing one thing in comics. He will break up families due to trauma, and he traumatizes female characters so that they can become violent, angry vigilantes who are addicted to drugs or alcohol. He had success with that with an original character, with Jessica Jones, and he handled it pretty well there. So that's pretty much been his stock and trade since then. Getting rid of classic heroes in favor of this, and using trauma as the excuse and the loss of families. He doesn't seem to like kids or women that much. So, yeah. Or he thinks women are more interesting when they're traumatized or something, that they can't be interesting on their own. So here's what I'm predicting will happen as a storyline. Because he's been talking about this huge shakeup he's bringing to Superman. So obviously the cancellation of Super Sons after so short a time, and even though it was achieving better sales than a lot of DC's established books that are in no danger of cancellation, by the way. I mean, it's selling a ton more copies. It's selling a ton more copies than established stuff like Green Lantern or Green Arrow or stuff like that. Stuff that DC wouldn't even think of canceling. So it's all being done to please him. So here are my predictions for what's going to happen. He's going to make it topical because he also likes going topical with things. So there's going to be something where some sort of anti-alien weapon is used in some sort of mass shooting against aliens. Jonathan Kent is going to be killed. That's a given. He's dead. I don't care what DC says. He's dead. That's going to be DC. That's going to be Brian Michael Bendis' big shakeup. Superman is going to go dark. He's going to don a new black costume and maybe even drop the name Superman for a while. And they'll say, oh, it's so you'll appreciate the real Superman again. Or something like that. And, oh, they'll do a big event where they bring back Silver Age Superman or some garbage like that. But for a while, he'll be a dark vigilante. Lois will get depressed. She'll get addicted to drugs or alcohol. The marriage will break up. She'll get some sort of robot suit or something that will give her the power to be a dark vigilante who goes after the people who have the weapons. And it will turn out that the people that have the weapons lobby the government to allow them to keep these weapons out there, and they just sell them to anyone, and there's no regulation of these weapons that killed Jonathan, and she'll go after these people and all the corrupt politicians, and there'll be a stand-in for Trump and the FBI and all this other stuff. That'll be the storyline that'll happen. That will kill Jonathan Kent and turn Lois Lane into an angry vigilante and break up the super family, and there'll be fans who cheer it. I've talked to some of them. They want Silver Age Superman back. They want Superman being single because they think character growth is a sin. They think that no character should ever move on with their life. Well, here's what I have to say to that. Why can't we have both? Why can't we have in the main timeline people slowly age and grow? You don't have to do it in real time, just have them age and grow slowly over the course of the comics, go through the various stages of life with their audience. People actually like seeing that. The number of times that we turn out for a movie that stars an older star returning, an older action star returning to the big screen because we want to see where their character went, that just proves it. I mean, the success of the new Star Wars movies is based a lot on the fact that people wanted to see what happened to Luke, Leia, and Han. That was where a lot of the marketing lay for them. So, and here's why I say, why can't we have both? First of all, you can still do comics that are set before that happened. For instance, here's a thing. You have 2 Superman books. Okay, why not have the main Superman book? Yeah, it takes place in the present day. He's married to Lois Lane. He has the family with Jonathan. And to me, he feels more like Superman now than he ever did at any point in the past. I'm not kidding. The current run of Superman combined with Super Sons is my favorite run of any comic book ever. And I think it's exactly what the world needs right now. The world needs a calming, reassuring influence. They need somebody who isn't constantly brooding. They need somebody to assure them that things are going to be all right. They need somebody who won't judge people for their political views, who will, because here's the thing, for 99% of people, politics is just them saying and voting for what they think is the right thing to do in a given situation. So, and here's what I think Superman is at his best when he just stands for don't hurt each other, and I'm going to help anybody who's getting hurt here, but I'm not going to tell you what to think or tell you that you don't have a right to your views. And that's what the current Superman is. And he's just a calming influence on things. And I think that's needed in an age where everything is polarized, in an age where Black Panther is polarized, where whether or not white critics should review a black movie is a polarizing topic. The idea that you have this family man out there who can have these bright adventures that that are kid friendly, that everyone can relate to, is needed. And I think Super Sons is the natural outgrowth of that. And Jonathan Kent and Damian Wayne's adventures were the perfect entry point for new readers, and they were a perfect place. And here's my thing. So have the main Superman books, have them have that Superman. Have Action Comics take place in his past. As I said, they never say how many years have passed. They never actually give out anyone's exact age in comics because the timeline, how it works, is nebulous and it's always moving. So have Action Comics be a book set in the past. It's like I said with Spider-Man. Do that. And have the different books set in different time periods. And then the people that want classic Silver Age single Superman, they can have him. But people like me, who find this reassuring, who find this father figure reassuring, and who find the scenes where he's teaching his son how to use his powers, and these conversations to be some of the most touching they've ever seen in comics, we can still have that. And the ones who want to see Damian grow up, Damian and Jonathan grow up together, we can have that in Super Sons. There's no reason why you can't have it always. There's no reason why you have to have one writer on both Superman books. Let Bendis do what he wants. Give Bendis his own title. If he wants it to go dark, have Bendis get his own AU title, or make Super Sons the AU title. You can do a new DC imprint. Do a DC imprint called DC Bright. and have that be the more optimistic tales, and you can have all the depressing stuff in the other books. And move Super Sons to this DC Bright line that was an entry point for kids, and have the more kid-friendly adventures and the ones that are just pure excitement like that. Have them on there, and have a real world and have some of the real world stuff, and have the darker storylines that people like Bendis want to do. Have them relegated to, and have them relegated to that. And you don't have to keep things static. In fact, going back to the Silver Age, that's what I consider static and boring. Characters who don't age bore me, and I give up on them after a while. So that's my personal view. I know a lot of people don't share it, but this is a video about my thoughts on Super Sons being canceled, and I think it's a disgrace. I think the book serves a purpose. It gives kids something to look up to. In fact, if you'll allow me, I already got these thoughts out earlier in an email I sent to DC Comics. So if you don't mind, I'm going to just read you the email I'm just going to find and read you the email that I composed for this, because it illustrates some of my points. One of which is that kids are entering this comic. I've seen them, and I think for all their faults, even Damian is a good role model in that they want to do something good, and they're trying their best, but they're normal kids, and that kids can relate to them. They don't go over the top with being disobedient kids. They don't go over the top with being rule followers. They just feel and talk like real kids. I've heard this time and time again from critics. I've heard this from people who are their age. It's just a fact if you ask me. So anyway, here is what I wrote to DC Comics that explains my point of view. Dear DC Comics, I am writing to let you know how disappointed I am that you decided to cancel the comic book series Super Sons. I have been reading Marvel Comics since I was 6, but Super Sons caused me to switch to DC, and now this comic and the current run of Superman are my favorite run of any comic books in history. Your reasons for canceling the book to please a writer you just put on Superman make no sense to me. From a business standpoint, Super Sons is the worst-selling Superman book, but it far outsells any title put out by the new writer in the past. Bendis is known for his dark books and big shakeups, and some of them work, but that isn't what Superman needs. In a world full of distress, Superman is something you can always count on. Is someone you can always count on to do the right thing and be an entertaining and exciting read. His having a family and his interaction with Jonathan are some of the most uplifting things ever put in comics, and it is exactly what the worlds and kids today need right now. They need this escape, and I can tell you they are embracing it. I have seen kids who have never picked up a comic book before getting into them through this well-written book. It has the best writing for 2 child characters I have seen in comics, and the leads are good role models while still being flawed enough for kids to relate to. Kids today need that, and they respond to that. You are letting them and yourselves down by canceling this book in this reader's opinion. Then there are the creative opportunities you are throwing away for the future. Super Sons was such a good foundation for the future and a modern take on the golden and silver age of comics. I mean, imagine if you had just let Jonathan and Damian slowly age as the book went on. We could have watched their friendship grow, and while they would have always been competitive and had different approaches to things, they would have a friendship that stretches back years and that a lot of readers grew up with as time goes on. It would be a realistic and modern take on the golden and silver age Superman and Batman stories, where Superman and Batman had been friends since Superman was Superboy. You could have John grow into being a hero who wasn't as strong as Superman and couldn't fly because he was half human, So he made up for it by working more closely with his friend. And you could have Damian turn into a Batman-like character who relies more on teamwork than Bruce ever did, because he has always had support around him in the form of Bruce, the Teen Titans, and Jonathan. Then when a story did put them at odds with each other, it would have a real impact and real stakes, because unlike Batman and Superman, who learned to become heroes on their own and then met, they would have traveled down this road together. And if we got to watch it happen over years without random time cuts jumping ahead, it would be something truly original that would stand out in modern comics. That is what we and DC have lost with Super Sons being canceled. I hope this is not being done because Bendis wants to tell some dark story about Jonathan being killed and the trauma it puts Lois and Superman through. Those are the types of stories he is known for telling, so please do not do that. It seems you are choosing one creator over the fans and readers here, and that is both a bad creative and business choice. I know this has been a long read, so I will just end it by saying this. Please listen to your fans. Don't let some dark event wipe out this book. Please bring it back in some form. Your readers and kids need it. Signed respectfully by a loyal reader, Matthew Given. Okay, and that sums up most of my thoughts and feelings on this. Now, you may be asking, what hope is there? Well, there are several. For one, a high-ranking executive at DC is Bob Harras, and during his run, letter-writing campaigns from fans did save Spider-Girl many times. So you can do that. If you look at the background of this video, you will see that it has contact information for DC Comics on Twitter. What I'm asking people to do, and what I've seen some already doing through various Facebook groups I'm a part of, is either tweet the hashtag Save Super Sons to these people, and and if you can, tweet pictures of Super Sons comics you have bought to show them that you're buying them, or tweet them the sales numbers of Super Sons versus the sales numbers of Iron Man and other comics, or other DC comics that sell worse that they aren't canceling. The people you should tweet are at DC Comics, at Dan-Dido, at This Is Bob Harras, and at Jeff Johns. And that's one thing, and that's the wild card in this. Could this big shake up, because getting rid of the family could prove, because Jeff Johns definitely will have a voice in controlling Bendis and his dark streaks. Now, here's the thing. We have to wonder, does Johns like the Super Family more, or does he like Superman, the Silver Age Superman, where he's pretending to be Clark Kent and Lois Lane is clueless as to who he is, and does this big event, and does he see this big event as a way to reset it to that? If he likes the Silver Age better, then we're doomed, because he'll want that back. And we have seen that Jeff Johns has a weakness for Silver Age. He angered many Flash fans by bringing back Barry Allen. I personally didn't have a problem with it, but I can see how a lot of people who grew up with Wally West did, and I'd be lying if I said that it didn't go against my principle of letting comic book characters naturally age and move on with generational fixes, instead of just keeping heroes ageless and in the same place as characters. So, you have that. So, if he likes that, I don't see much hope, because killing off Jonathan would be the only way to do it, and then having some sort of memory erasing event happens that Lois and Bruce don't remember Jonathan, and they go back to Lois being the best reporter in the world, only she's so ditzy she doesn't realize Clark is Superman. That would be and you have all the romantic love triangles, which again is something Jeff Johns likes, so I'm not 100% certain he isn't involved in this, and this big shakeup that resulted in the cancellation isn't something he's doing here. But let's look on the bright side. Geoff Johns could be on our side. I've heard that he may have been involved in bringing back the Super Family in Rebirth, in which case we have a chance and a show of support, especially with a bunch of tweets and emails coming DC's way, could be just what we need to preserve the Super Family. And as I said, in the past, fans have made a difference in geeky fandom. Star Trek, the original series, got to its 79 episodes because of a letter writing campaign. Spider-Girl, as I said, another book I cover here, it would not have lasted if it hadn't been for multiple letter writing campaigns by the fans that changed things around. And during the first of those campaigns, Bob Harras was editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics, and he's now one of the executives who will ultimately be deciding the fate of Jonathan and Damian Wayne. So who knows where he falls on this? So there is hope. So if you care about Super Sons at all, if you like the series, please buy it. And I will advise you to buy it because I've seen this happen before. Now that the book is canceled, people will be grabbing it. eBay resellers will be grabbing it off the shelves like crazy. And they'll be selling the single issues out there for exorbitant prices on eBay. I've seen this happen before. And guess what? They don't come down. Some books do come down, but once a series is canceled, it rarely comes down because guess what? Once one person gets away with selling a single issue for $30 or $45, every single other person on eBay jacks up the price of their comics, and they stay there, and they would rather sit on them, the sellers would rather sit on them than sell them for less than that. So I've seen it happen before. So if you want to get the issues, pick them up now. And I will be covering all 16 issues that will be printed of Super Sons. And then I'll probably move on to the run of Superman that led to this, but I'll probably stop with the Bendis era as it looks like I won't have much taste for that, personally. So these were all just my personal thoughts and a plea. If you like Super Sons, please join in the effort to save it because it's not for naught. We do have a voice in this. Comics are more reliant on their fans than ever. And I'm sorry this was such a long video, but there was a lot for me to say in it. And I'm sorry if I rambled a bit, but please consider helping save Super Sons. And thank you for listening to this video. Goodbye.